Hi everyone, welcome back. I've got another scenery card that we're going to use some Distress Oxides in the background. I'm also going to grab an old Stampin' Up! Layering Love stamp set for the sentiment. I also have some Mama Elephant dies, the balloon from, can't remember which one that is, and the a dog and a cat from the Book Buddy and Pop-Up, I think that's what's called. And I'm also going to bring in my very fancy handmade, homemade stencils and a Stamp-A-Majig, which is old school. So I dragged out another tool that I haven't used for forever. And we'll get to that in a minute. So what I'm using is what looks like the negative of the stencil. And this is actually going to create the shape of the grass. So I've got some Twisted Citron and Mowed Lawn Distress Oxides here, and they are my favorite greens together. I don't know why, but they just, oh my god, they just work really, really nicely together, and I love it. I don't know if it's the citrusiness of the Twisted Citron, I'm not sure, but I love it. So I've stuck the stencil at the back of the card so that it holds it in place. You would have noticed from some of my other videos I have a bit of trouble with this, but this seemed to work perfectly. I seem to get it right this time. And then I just moved it up so I had 2 layers of grass. And can you see by adding the slightly darker color of green, it just makes it like highlights it, and then that way you can see although it's flat, it gives you that depth. And then with what would look like the positive of the it's kind of like reverse positive negative of the stencil. I'm going to use that to line up against the grass so that it covers the grass shape, and that way protects the color that I've just put there. And then I'm going to use one of the ocean waves stencils. I've done this stencil video a couple of videos back from this one, and I'm actually using again what is the negative, and I've turned it upside down so it looks a bit like clouds, sort of. I don't really have a cloud die, so I'm hoping to get one soon, but because I didn't have one, I thought, well, this kind of looks like clouds ish, maybe a little bit. So I used it for clouds, and I'm using Stormy Sky. I'm also trying to, as well as bringing out old tools and old things that I've had for donkey's years, I'm also trying to use more of the different colors. Like, if you're anything like me, you have to have all the colors, right? You've got to have the whole collection of ink or paint or whatever it is, and I can't help myself. So I do have all the oxides. I'm still working on the distressings, but I do have the oxides, and I forget to use all the other colors, which is ridiculous, really. So that's why I brought out Stormy Skies. I thought, let's see what it turns out like, and I love it. So using my Stamp-A-Majig, I've basically put the plastic sheet that comes with it into the corner of what is the handle, the green bit, and just you knock it into that place, then you hold it in place, then you ink up your stamp on the block, and you put the corner of the block into the corner of the handle, to the green thing, and then you stamp down. And then I'm taking what is like a template of that stamp. I can now line it up where I want it, and the reason I'm using this is because I can't see through the stamp, so it's not a clear stamp, it's one of the cling stamps, and I couldn't see through it, so I needed to see whether that was going to line up the way I wanted it, which I knew if I tried to do this by eye, it would be real squonk, like we're talking total squonking. So that's even a word. And I did use a powder tool on the balloon, the cardstock, the pink cardstock beforehand, so that hopefully only the ink, where the ink is sitting, once we've stamped it down, the powder will sit on there. I do have some issues here. I don't know whether it's just because I don't heat emboss that often, or whether it was the stamp or what it was, but I was having some trouble with this. So I thought I'd leave this bit in because I always find that although it's nice that, you know, people cut when they're editing, they sort of cut those bits out, but I think it's good to show you that, you know, this stuff happens in real life. It's not picture perfect all the time. As much as you know, we try and keep our videos short and to the point, mine sometimes I waffle. Let's just face it, I waffle. So the J and a couple of other bits didn't stamp that well. So because I had the Stamp-A-Majig and the template of the stamp on there already, I could line it up pretty easily. And this time I came back in. I started out with like a white pigment ink, and I think it was too dry. So then I went back in with my Versamark, which I have an ink refill for, and I knew I'd re-inked it recently, so I knew it was nice and juicy. Went back in with that and basically did it again and stamped over it. Still didn't work. Then I looked at my stamp and realized there was I'm going to call it a magic hair. My cat's name is Magic. It was a magic hair stuck to my stamp. So where it was sitting, this fine hair that she has, where it sat there, it would not stamp properly. And once I'd worked that out, I thought, okay, that's fine. I thought, I'm not going to re-stamp this again. So I brought in a Versamarker, which is basically Versamark ink in a pen. And I just went over the areas I thought needed it. Now, what I forgot to do beforehand is add my powder tool again. And so what happened was I landed up with a load of speckles of powder everywhere. So from going from something that should have been really straightforward, quite simple to do, honestly, it normally is quite easy to do. It took me a few goes to get this right, but I wasn't going to give up and I wasn't going to not use this, because I just thought this is what happens sometimes. Also, I wanted to say, does anybody know if embossing powder goes off? Because I've had this Stampin' Up! One for many years, and obviously I don't heat emboss as much as I should, which I will get back to. So I don't know if it was off as well. So I don't know if it's a combination of things there, but anyway, eventually I got it. It was okay. So now I'm taking some twine and I'm wrapping it around and sticking it to the back of the balloon, so it looks like it's coming out of the balloon. And I'm going to cut a long enough piece. I cut way too much, but I'm going to cut a long enough piece of, or leave a long enough piece of twine to play with once I get it ready for the card. But I do actually cut way too much here. But that's fine. Now I'm going to put together the book buddies. So I have the dog and the cat. So they are from two separate die sets. So one is the book buddy, which comes with the dog and the bear, and the other one comes with the cat and a bunny. And so I am putting together the dog, and they have all these little pieces, and there's a couple of different things. So the one that comes with the cat and the bunny actually has like a pop-up thing that can fit inside a card, and this guy has the legs that are here, and it has another set of legs that are so that it's like a bookmark. Couldn't think of the word, but all four of them are all interchangeable. So they're all sized in such a way that you can use them. You know, you can mix and match, which I think is just genius. So you get quite a lot for both, you know, between both sets of dies. So I do forget to cut the the paws for the cat, and I was going to leave it, but it doesn't look right for me, so I do go back and I do add them in. So you'll see that at the end of the video, where I have sort of attached them. So yeah. So there are some tiny pieces here, but they're actually really easy. When you die cut like the heads, it actually embosses little like lines of where the mouth and the nose and the eyes and the ears and things like that go. So you know where to pop them in, and they all fit in really, really well. So I'm just getting her little ears, that's the word, inside of the ears done. And then I remembered there's another piece that goes on the top of her head, which again, you don't have to put this on. You can cut this apart and make your own cat, you know, stripy cat or whatever it is. So as I say, it's really good. It's sort of good interchangeable pieces and things. And of course their tails. I think they're so funny. The dog's tail is so cute. So bringing my little scene that I've created, my little sky scene, and I want the balloon at the top, and then the what are they called? The dog and the cat. I'm going to have the balloon wrap around the cat's tail because she's got the longer tail, so I thought that would be kind of funny. Can you imagine having a cat tail, a balloon attached to a cat's tail? that would be kind of hysterical, I think. It sounds mean. It wouldn't be mean, but you know, they would go mad. I would never do it, by the way, but I just think that would be, in my head I'm thinking that would be hysterical. But don't do that. That's not very nice. I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, so I'm just deciding where I want to put the cats, and I started off by sticking the cat and the dog bodies on. You know, slightly offset them so that one's slightly lower than the other, just for a bit of, you know, variety and a bit of variation. And then before I stick the tail down flat, I'm just going to loosely tie it or wrap it around the tail, and then when I go to stick the tail down, there's enough adhesive on the back that it will just hold all of that in place. I was trying to figure out how I was going to do that without trying to tie it round, and this just seemed the easiest option, and it works really well. And then for the heads, I decided to not only pop them up on some foam, but I'm going to tilt them slightly. It just makes it look, I want to say realistic, but it's not. It's obviously not real. But it just, I don't know, it just gives it a sort of a cute look where they like tilting their heads. You know, like dogs do, especially. They tilt their heads like, what? Because, you know, they're like that. But I just thought it looked really sweet. And then for the balloon, I'm going to pop that up as well. And that's pretty much it. It's very easy to do. I love die cuts like this. If you don't have dies that cut out things like this, look at any of your SVG files, if you've got a Cricut, any of your Cricut files that are animals like this. You could easily do something similar. You know, there's ways to make things work in the same way. And you can see here she doesn't have her little her little paws on. She does look funny there. I didn't like it, so I decided to put her paws on. I feel like she needed them. It's kind of like shoes for women. Anyway, so the last thing I want to do, well, there's a couple things. One is obviously I need to get this on a card base. This card is a 5x7 inch card, which I actually quite like. The size of it's quite a nice area to work with, and it's nice, because there's more real estate to play with things like this, especially the balloon that big. Although that will fit on an A2 size card. But what I decided to do is I grabbed one of my little, I think it's also a Stampin' Up! Heart. It's like a enamel dot kind of thing, or enamel shapes I think they called them, from years ago. So I added that to the heart that is on what was stamped, and then I've also added some glossy accents to their nose, mouth and eyes, and then very carefully, oh yeah, I've added the paws in now. She's all set now. And then very carefully, because obviously the glossy accents, although it takes at least, I'd say overnight if you're going to post this fairly quickly, just leave it somewhere flat to dry. But otherwise, I think within about half hour it's touch dry. So same with things like Nouveau drops, I would leave them 24 hours just to be on the safe side, especially if you're going to stick it in an envelope. Otherwise you won't get it off the envelope or out of it. And that's it. So enjoy the little things, guys. You know, we're in the middle of a pandemic. We're still trying to figure things out. Just, you know, think about the little things in your life that make life worth living. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I will see you. What is this? This is Friday's video, so I will see you next week with some more. Thanks, guys. Bye.